is how does a consumer know what intensity? Obviously it's going to be on the box, it's going to be on the website as to what the intensity is, but how can someone, a lot of people have approached me before and said, how can I measure it? And I went down this rabbit hole a couple of years back, and I put into Google, magnetic pulse measurer. Something popped up on Amazon, £200. That'll do. And I'll measure the Gauss that's coming from my system. And it's not as easy as that. Let me tell you now. No. So if anybody kind of comes to me and says, I've checked your system and it's not what you say it is, the first question we say to them is, what have you used? And 9 times out of 10, they say it's some job from, from Amazon or from eBay or something. So what do you use, Steve? What do you use in terms of measuring your, the Gauss and measuring your coils?
So first of all, I have to cheat for me to be able to measure my coils because my instrument is not quick enough to measure a micropulse. 90%, and I think I'm being maybe a little over dramatic, but most of the mistakes we make in science is caused by either not understanding our measuring instrument capacity or just simply not interpreting the measurement reading we get properly, right? So the duty cycle affects the measurement quite a bit. So, and the duty cycle is the length amount of time that the coil stays energized, okay? So if it gets energized for half a second, let's say, which would be ridiculous, nothing like that would ever happen. But let's say it just so we can visualize it. Your coil stays energized for half a second, but your measuring instrument needs 10 seconds to measure it. You're going to get an erroneous reading. The coil has to stay on for 10 seconds for your measuring instrument to be able to measure it and get you an accurate measurement. So when you buy a Gauss meter off Amazon for $300, you're nowhere near the tens of thousands of dollars that it takes for an instrument to measure accurately a micropulse. And even those tens of thousands of dollars worth of instrument, they do have their limit too. So if you reduce the duty cycle to a micropulse, they will also give you an erroneous reading because they're not quick enough to read it, right? Mm-hmm. And what you get from that, so if I require 10 seconds to take an accurate reading and my pulse is only half a second, then I may read just the tail end of it, the beginning of it, or something like that, and I may get 10 Gauss on my meter. Then you phone the people like, hey, you said you're making 100 Gauss, but you're only making 10 according to my meter. Well, that's because you're reading it wrong, right?
Yeah.
When I tested you guys' math, right, I got exactly what you guys claim you're getting, right? Mm-hmm. Like it was there. But once again, I had to cheat a little bit to make the pulse longer. So how did I do that? Well, it's the magic of the electronics, right? I just can modify stuff to keep the coil energized longer. So I was able to take an accurate reading of it. That's the way I did it. Because I don't have a $15,000 Gauss meter here either. Yeah. So for people that want to read this stuff, take it with a grain of salt. Yes, buy yourself a Gauss meter and everything else, but know that the reading you're going to get is going to be off quite a bit sometimes. Like a lot. It can be off quite a bit.
Yeah.
Also, Gauss meters comes in AC, DC, frequency specific. So if you have a Gauss meter that's designed for, let's say, 60 hertz or 600 hertz, that's going to make a difference, right? If you have a Gauss meter that's designed for AC, well, that's going to be different again. Most, if not the majority of PMF device are DC to start, right? So, yeah.
So, I mean, really, I think the main takeaway from that is, if people want to test a PMF device, obviously don't waste your money on a couple of hundred device bit of kit to measure a micropulse. Maybe look at a local test house instead that has the correct equipment. I think we've all got all the correct equipment now when testing our mats, and it was a couple of thousand for, at least for